Hey y'all, I'm James Wright, and welcome to my shop. And how exactly do you go about researching the history of a particular tool? When most people first get into hand tool woodworking, they start realizing that, honestly, antique tools are some of the most affordable ways to get into it. The problem is, after using a tool for a while, you notice that there's interesting marks on it. Every tool has a little bit of history left into it, and you start wanting to find more about this particular maker. Or, how old is this thing actually? What is the history of my tool? And often it's just, wait a second, what in the world was that used for? And in this case, anger may lead to the dark side, but research into a tool history, that leads to collecting. And honestly, if you don't want to become a collector, don't research your tools, because that is one of the big things that leads people into it. Really, all the collectors out there, they are people who started loving tools. They used them, they loved them, they enjoyed them, and that made them look into things. And then they found out, oh, what's this maker? I've never heard them before. Oh look, there's another one by that maker. And before you know it, you start to collect a particular type, a history, a maker, something specific that, oh, I want to find out more about that. That's where collectors come from. But if you still want to know more about your tools, here are the places where I go when I want to find out more. By far, the biggest source of information on tools and their history is just rubbing shoulders with other tool users, people who also love these tools. Everyone has a different thing that they've looked into, and before you know it, the more people you're talking to, you'll find someone talking about this particular maker or that particular history, and you start to glean information slowly over time. It's not poignant or direct or about this one particular thing you might be interested in, but you do get this broad sense of tool histories as you talk to different people in different situations. And that's probably the single biggest reason I go to tool meets. It's not to buy tools. Yes, I do buy tools. I almost always buy tools. But rubbing shoulders with those people and starting to see what interests them, or even walking up to a table full of tools and saying, wait a second, what is that? And then you have someone on the other side of the table who says, oh, I've got a great story about this. This particular thing is, and goes into the history, the background, what it does, how it works, the function, and you learn a crazy amount just by asking, wait, what is that? There are tool meetings all over the United States, and there are some in other countries. Now, you may have to drive to it, and honestly, most people end up driving 3-4 hours to get to a tool meet. That's normal. And if you want to find one near you, I'm going to leave a link to the description, handtoolfinder.com. On there, I have a list of every tool meet, every place to buy tools that I know of, and they're all in one place, as well as a calendar of events in the hand tool woodworking world. But that brings us to the next point. When you're wanting to find out more about tools, you have to be willing to ask questions. If you're walking by that table of tools and you see something on there that you don't know what it is, ask. So many people are just afraid to ask, what is that? And honestly, the question, what's it, is one of the most valuable ways to learn more about the tools. If you have a question about your tools, then take some pictures of it and send it into one of the groups. There are a ton of groups all over the internet. On Facebook, there are individual groups for planes, for saws, for chisels, for particular types of saws, particular makers of tools, and you can find entry in one of those. As well as that, most woodworking gurus have a group or a place where you can get together and talk to other people who might be more interested in that particular style. I have a Discord server called the Hive Mind. I'll leave a link to that down in the description below. And you can go on there and ask questions about tools, but you have to be willing to ask questions. Speaking of what's it, that brings me to one of my all-time favorite resources, the Grist Mill. This is a publication that comes out 4 times a year by the MWTCA, and if you remember, you get the copy for free. It's $25, you get this 4 times a year, money well spent. In each issue and at all the national conventions, you'll find these pages of what's it, and people send in these pictures of weird looking things, and everyone in the community then does research to find out, and often finds the patent behind it, and the history and what exactly it does. In the Grist Mill, there's also a section called the Tool Family Tree, and this is how things might change over time, how one tool style changed into another, and how things progressed over history. Not to mention, the whole thing is about tools, their history, the background of all of these tools, where they came from, who made them, different research that's been done on the topic. If you are at all interested in tools, you need to be a member of the MWTCA and get the Grist Mill, because it's just chock full of incredible information. And it doesn't matter what topic you're interested in, there's probably someone out there who's actually written a book on that particular topic, or has done a type study that actually tracks them through the years in history. You can find a lot of those books listed on the MWTCA website, as well as a whole list of how to find things in past patents, and a collection of different type studies from different makers over the years. The MWTCA website is a plethora of information, and it's honestly one of the first places that I go to when I'm looking something up. If you've ever tried to look up tool history on Google, you'll find out that if you're looking for the simple questions, you're probably going to get it. If you want Stanley type studies, it's going to send you to Hyperkitten or Patrick's Blood and Gore. You're going to find those simple answers from Google. But if you're trying to find out history on a particular Sheffield maker, or when did this particular plane maker make this particular style of plane, those can be harder to find. And most of the time, what you're looking for isn't a website. You're not looking for a page. You're not looking for background information. You're looking for the person who did the study on that, the person who's actually spent a while researching and collecting them. And you're generally going to find them in the different associations and groups. And so that's why I usually tell people, join the MWTCA. That's the big group that covers most all of the world. And they ship grist mills all over the world. But then you also find a lot of local groups. You'll find a group in Western Pennsylvania called the Three Rivers Tool Collectors. You'll find a group in Ohio, the Ohio Tool Collectors. You'll find a group in California called PAST. You'll find a group out in Oregon and Washington called the Pacific Northwest Tool Collectors. You'll find a group in Perth, Australia. There are groups in many different countries. And if you go to handtoolfinder.com, I have a whole list of all the groups on there, so you can try and find one near you. As well as if there isn't any near you, then you can always join one on Facebook. There are groups for just about any particular topic on Facebook. Look it up on there. You'll find a group that is focused on that particular thing. And generally, you're going to find someone in that group who knows someone who actually did the study on that particular tool. But every now and then, you're going to find something that's somewhat odd. And you'll even find some things in here in the What's It section that have been in there for a while and no one quite knows. You've talked to a lot of people. You've been on all the groups and everyone looks at it and goes, I haven't seen that before. I recently came across this. I bought it at an auction earlier this month, and they had it listed as a ripping plane. And I've talked to several other people, and they say, yeah, that's a ripping plane. And I say, what does it do? And they say, I have no idea. Do you have any more information on it? And they say, no, I don't. Every now and then you're going to find something you don't know what it is. In that case, you create a YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of followers, and then you ask them, hey, what is this? There's no maker's mark on it at all. It's got a hole here that you would expect to be for a fence with a hold down screw that locks onto it, but I don't have any fence that would have come out. But the crazy thing is the bottom. There's no plane iron. There's actually this wheel that comes out of the bottom. As I tighten this nut, you can see this wheel starts coming out down there. And it looks to have been sharpened at one time, but it rotates rather freely. And I have no idea what this is for. It has a lot of interesting, and my idea is that a fence would go in there and it's for ripping thin stock, but I don't know why this would extend out quite that far or what the functionality in this actually is. And why it's not sharp all the way around, but maybe make punctuated. I'm really interested. I'm sure several people out there know exactly what this is for, but you're always going to come across some things that you have no idea what they are. Some things that time has lost it. Or the few people who actually know what that is, you just can't find them. And that's kind of one of the things that makes this sport interesting, because you never know. Sometimes you're going to get really lucky and you're going to find out, oh yeah, I know what that is. And sometimes you're going to pick it up and go, I have no idea. I've got to find out more. So if you do happen to know what this is, please let me know. Otherwise, it'll remain a mystery. So don't be afraid to become a collector. Ask questions and say, what is that? Do a little research and improve the amount of information that is known out there. And the more people who know a particular topic, the better the chance it's actually going to last sometime in the future. Get out of your comfort zone and be willing to walk up to someone and say, hey, what's it? So if you have any great resources, throw those in the comments down below. I do love reading through those and I pick up some interesting ideas. Or if you happen to know what this is, please throw those down below. And if you just want to put comment down below, thank you for that as well. It does help out the channel. Need to me like, comment, share, subscribe. I've said this before, haven't I? But it helps out the channel. Thank you. If you do want to go even farther, though, think about joining these people over here. Those are some of the fantastic, wonderful, benevolent, gorgeous, and amazing people over on Patreon. Because between patrons and members, you guys sponsor this channel. You make everything happen. And without you, we would not exist. So thank you for that. If you'd like to find out more, then think about becoming a patron on Patreon. But I think that'll do it for now. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And yes, in the field, this is not called a what is it, it is called a what's it. Oddly enough, that's the exact same sound that a fly swatter makes. What's it?